In this video, we uncover the terrifying story of an online connection that turned into a nightmare no one could have predicted. What started as a normal conversation on a dating app spiraled into events that would forever change one woman's life. Before we dive deeper, if you care about real stories of survival, justice, and awareness, hit the like button, subscribe to the channel, and turn on notifications so you never miss our newest uploads. Sharing this video can help spread awareness about dangerous relationships and give victims a voice. Everyone knows roughly 5,000 faces in their lifetime. About 150 of these are people you know well. Studies show that 1 in every 100 people struggles with a serious mental illness. That means there's a significant chance that someone close to you could be struggling silently. But how likely is it that someone new entering your life could be violent? Worse still, what if that person specifically targets you? Jessica Monroe was a bright, ambitious woman, born and raised in Seattle, Washington. Her family moved to Denver, Colorado when she was in high school, seeking a fresh start after her parents' divorce. She lived with her mother, Karen, and her younger brother, Michael. Jessica excelled academically, earning a degree in reproductive medicine from the University of Colorado. By 2017, she was working as a resident in obstetrics and gynecology at a busy Denver hospital. Her colleagues admired her dedication, and patients trusted her implicitly. Jessica had always loved helping bring new lives into the world, and the people around her appreciated her warmth and empathy. She had married young, just past 21, to her college sweetheart, Kit. Sweetheart, Ryan. For a while, their relationship was strong. But when Ryan joined the Air Force, the distance and pressures of life gradually eroded their bond. Eventually, they divorced, leaving Jessica wary but still hopeful about finding love again. By the age of 28, Jessica decided to try online dating. Her busy work schedule left little room for social life, so apps seemed the most practical way to meet someone. Several men quickly expressed interest, but one individual stood out immediately. He went out of his way to show his attention, posting Jessica's pictures on his social media, sending thoughtful messages, and making her feel appreciated. At first, Jessica was flattered. Ethan Caldwell, 27 at the time, had a charming demeanor, a winning smile, and dimples that drew people in. They met through a popular dating app, and after weeks of messaging, they arranged to meet in person. Since Jessica lived in Denver and Ethan in Austin, Texas, the first date required careful planning. Ethan flew to Denver, where he had reserved a table at a local restaurant known for live jazz music, hoping the ambiance would make their first meeting special. The first date was filled with nervous smiles, a few awkward silences, and long stretches of conversation.
I love you too, Ethan.
As the night went on, they shared drinks, stories, and laughter. Both had been married and divorced, and this common ground helped form a connection. By the end of the evening, it was clear that their bond had grown stronger, laying the foundation for what would become a long-distance relationship. Gifts and gestures followed. Ethan sent flowers regularly and even upgraded hotel rooms when Jessica had to travel for work. He seemed attentive and caring, making Jessica feel safe and appreciated. For the first time in years, she allowed herself to feel a genuine connection with someone. Her family met Ethan shortly after he moved to Denver for work. Her mother, Karen, was delighted with his manners, confidence, and the way he treated Jessica. But her brother, Michael, felt uneasy almost immediately. He noticed subtle signs in Ethan's behavior, quick mood changes, an intensity that went beyond normal affection, and a curiosity about Jessica's every move. At first, Jessica didn't see these signs. She was busy with her work at the hospital, where she often had long hours and unpredictable schedules. Ethan would call or text repeatedly if she didn't respond immediately, check which colleagues she had spoken to, and question her about every small interaction. His persistent need for control began to create unease in what had seemed like a perfect relationship. Within 6 weeks, the charming persona faded, replaced by a controlling and obsessive presence. Ethan demanded that they take their relationship to a more serious level quickly, making Jessica feel trapped and anxious. When she attempted to end things, he escalated his behavior dramatically, sending threatening messages, claiming he would harm himself, and insisting that she was responsible for his well-being. The situation became even more alarming when Jessica discovered that Ethan had a history of violence and legal troubles. Under the name Ethan Caldwell, he had previously been arrested for stalking and harassment in Texas and had multiple restraining orders issued against him by former partners. He had a history of manipulation, emotional abuse, and coercive control. Mental health professionals had diagnosed him with bipolar disorder and borderline personality disorder, making his rejection sensitivity and controlling tendencies far more dangerous. Despite warnings from friends and family, Jessica initially struggled to fully grasp the risk. Ethan's tactics of guilt, threats, and emotional manipulation were sophisticated, designed to maintain power over her. He would fabricate stories of illness, personal tragedies, or crises to elicit sympathy and compliance. Whenever Jessica tried to distance herself, his obsession intensified, and he began to track her movements, plan encounters, and orchestrate ways to control her environment. As the weeks progressed, Jessica noticed increasingly disturbing patterns. Ethan would arrive unexpectedly at her workplace, sometimes showing up at hospitals she visited or at cafes near her home. He sent messages from multiple accounts claiming they were friends or associates. He pressured her to maintain contact and made subtle threats if she didn't comply. Jessica took precautions, changing routines, installing extra locks, and confiding in friends. But Ethan's surveillance and relentless pursuit made it clear that he was planning something dangerous. He carefully monitored her daily life, noting her work hours, travel patterns, and social interactions. Every action Jessica took seemed to trigger a response from him, each more controlling than the last. During this time, Jessica began documenting everything. Every text, call, and strange encounter was recorded. But despite her careful planning, she could not anticipate the extreme escalation that was to come. Ethan's obsession had reached the point where he believed he could dictate her life entirely, and the careful planning of his past behaviors suggested he was capable of carrying out violent acts if he felt cornered or rejected. By the end of the first 2 months of their relationship, the situation had escalated from emotional manipulation to a physical threat. Jessica was living in a constant state of vigilance, fearing every unexpected sound or knock at her door. She confided in her family, who urged her to contact law enforcement and pursue a restraining order. Ethan's strategy involved not only direct contact, but also psychological manipulation, sending messages from fake accounts to confuse and intimidate Jessica. He had created multiple aliases online, portraying himself as a concerned friend, only to increase the pressure on her to maintain contact. Every attempt to establish boundaries was met with new tactics designed to destabilize and coerce her compliance. Despite the growing danger, Jessica continued to show resilience. She sought guidance from colleagues, friends, and family members, while also maintaining her responsibilities at the hospital. The emotional toll was heavy, but she refused to be intimidated completely, determined to protect herself and those around her. By late October 2017, it became evident that Ethan's obsession was reaching a breaking point. His behavior indicated premeditation, with purchases of dangerous items, careful observation of her routines, and increasingly aggressive messages. Jessica's survival instincts heightened, and she began taking more decisive protective measures, though the severity of what was to come was still unimaginable. By the end of October 2017, Jessica Monroe could no longer ignore the sense of imminent danger. Ethan Caldwell had become obsessive, constantly watching her,
monitoring her routines and invading her personal space in increasingly subtle ways. He would drive past her workplace multiple times a day, sometimes pretending to look at his phone, other times lingering near her apartment building. Jessica's anxiety escalated as she realized the level of premeditation in his behavior. Ethan's harassment wasn't limited to physical stalking. He would send relentless messages from different social media accounts, claiming to be mutual friends or concerned colleagues, in a deliberate attempt to manipulate and confuse her. Each message was designed to make Jessica feel guilty, responsible for her emotional well-being, or fearful of his potential reaction. He invented elaborate stories about illnesses, financial crises, and fake accidents, all calculated to destabilize her emotionally. Jessica attempted to set boundaries, telling him clearly that she no longer wanted contact. But Ethan's pattern of coercion escalated quickly. He would call repeatedly, showing up unexpectedly at family gatherings, and even attempted to gain access to her home using spare keys she hadn't realized he possessed. Jessica and her family began coordinating safety measures, locking doors, changing routines, and alerting neighbors. But Ethan's tactics were relentless, methodical, and increasingly audacious. Ethan's past behavior revealed why he was so dangerous. Before moving to Denver, he had a documented history of stalking, harassment, and violent behavior in multiple states. He had been involved in several restraining orders, often violating them to intimidate former partners. His previous manipulations included making false suicide threats, falsely reporting illnesses, and creating fake friends or family members to harass his victims. Psychologists had noted his diagnoses of bipolar disorder and borderline personality disorder, which made his rejection sensitivity and impulsive aggression particularly volatile. Despite these warnings, Jessica still tried to believe that rational discussion and legal measures could prevent tragedy. She applied for a civil protection order, documented every message and incident, and attempted to maintain her professional and personal life. But Ethan's obsession was unlike anything she had faced before. He seemed to anticipate every move she made, preemptively planning his harassment around her schedule and exploiting weaknesses in her protective measures. Jessica's family grew increasingly concerned. Her mother, Karen, and brother Michael noticed the pattern of extreme behavior, how he appeared to know her location, how he sent messages designed to instill fear, and how he manipulated others to maintain control over her. Michael discovered that Ethan had been using multiple online identities not only to contact Jessica, but also to reach her friends and colleagues, creating a web of psychological manipulation that made it difficult for anyone to intervene effectively. As November approached, Ethan's behavior escalated into more aggressive surveillance. He rented a room in a small hotel near Jessica's workplace, allowing him to monitor her daily routines closely. He tracked her movements, noting the times she left the hospital, which streets she took, and even which cafes she visited. His obsession was no longer simply emotional, it had become operational. Every detail was noted and recorded, and every gap in Jessica's routine became an opportunity for him to assert control. One morning, Jessica returned home from a late shift and noticed subtle but disturbing signs that someone had been inside her apartment. Small objects were out of place, and she discovered that some kitchen knives were missing. Panic set in as she realized Ethan had gained access to her home without her knowledge. She immediately contacted her family, who suggested spending the night elsewhere for safety. Jessica stayed at her sister Rachel's home, feeling the uneasy combination of relief and terror that comes with narrowly avoiding an encounter with someone unpredictable. Ethan was not deterred. Using a fake identity online, he contacted Rachel, posing as a concerned friend named Daniel,
claiming that Ethan had narrowly escaped an accident and was emotionally distraught. Jessica initially believed the messages were from a well-meaning intermediary, but over time, subtle inconsistencies revealed the truth. Daniel didn't exist. Ethan had created an alias to manipulate Jessica into revealing her location and state of mind. The harassment intensified. Ethan began purchasing items that indicated premeditation for physical violence: a utility knife, duct tape, and other tools that could be used to subdue a person. He drove a rented vehicle near Jessica's apartment multiple times a day, ensuring he knew her schedule and movements. The situation became more urgent when he was observed loitering near the hospital where she worked, sometimes appearing just as her shifts ended. Jessica's stress reached critical levels. Every knock on the door, every unexpected sound outside, and every phone call caused her heart to race. Her work, once a source of fulfillment, became a reminder of vulnerability. Despite following all legal and safety advice, she could feel the noose of Ethan's obsession tightening. Her family coordinated with law enforcement, but gaps in the enforcement of restraining orders meant that Ethan's escalating actions could not yet be curtailed effectively. One afternoon, Jessica returned from a brief trip home to feed her cat and grab a quick meal. She had planned to spend the night at her sister Rachel's, but she needed to return briefly to her apartment. As she entered the hallway, she was confronted by Ethan, who had been waiting inside. He placed a hand over her mouth, whispering in a calm but menacing voice, "Everything is fine. I just want to talk." Her initial shock froze her in place, the full horror of the situation sinking in. Ethan's demeanor was eerily controlled. He directed her into the bedroom, instructing her to sit on the bed while he began questioning her about past relationships, insinuating threats, and attempting to assert dominance. Jessica's mind raced as she realized the true danger she faced. The utility knife he had purchased earlier glinted ominously, and she noted the duct tape and other implements within reach. Her instincts screamed that escape was critical, yet the tightness of his grip and the closeness of the space made immediate movement nearly impossible. Panic gave way to instinct. Jessica seized a moment when Ethan's attention wavered and struggled to break free. The petrol can he had purchased for unknown purposes caused her to slip slightly, but miraculously she used this brief advantage to break his grip. She stumbled toward the door, covering her face from his aggressive movements. The situation escalated into a violent confrontation. Ethan slashed at her multiple times with the knife, leaving deep cuts on her arms and torso. Every movement was driven by fear, adrenaline, and the overwhelming need to survive. Finally, Jessica managed to escape, running from the apartment into the open street. She called for help, screaming for neighbors. Her friend Steve, who had noticed a stranger in the building earlier, came rushing with a steel bar to assist her. They managed to stabilize her injuries and keep her conscious until emergency services arrived. Jessica was bleeding heavily, disoriented and terrified. Yet she had survived. Meanwhile, Ethan fled in the rental vehicle, making frantic phone calls while police traced his movements using GPS from his phone. He contacted multiple people, including Jessica's family and law enforcement, attempting to orchestrate a scenario that would further his control or concealment. His calls revealed the delusional and dangerous mindset he operated under, speaking in the third person and describing violent intentions toward Jessica. The police coordinated a high-speed pursuit along Interstate 25. Ethan abandoned the vehicle near a rural stretch, armed with the knife, and engaged in a confrontation with officers. Attempts to subdue him with non-lethal methods failed due to his aggression and unpredictable actions. Officers were forced to respond with deadly force, resulting in Ethan Caldwell's death at the scene. Aftermath investigations revealed shocking details of his planning, hiding tools and weapons in strategic locations, prearranging methods to intimidate and harm Jessica, and leaving notes indicating guilt and intent to continue violent behavior. Authorities noted that the incident could have been much worse if friend Steve hadn't intervened when he did.
Have been even more catastrophic without the intervention of neighbors, friends,
and rapid police response. Jessica's survival was miraculous. Though physically and emotionally scarred, she emerged with a strengthened awareness of personal safety and resilience. Her experience became a cautionary tale, illustrating the extremes of coercive control, stalking, and intimate partner violence. In the days following the attack, Jessica Monroe slowly began to regain a sense of safety, though the trauma she experienced lingered deeply. The physical wounds on her arms and torso were treated in the hospital, and with the care of medical professionals, she started to heal. But beyond the visible injuries, the emotional and psychological scars ran much deeper. The fear, shock, and terror of facing someone so obsessive and dangerous could not simply be erased. Jessica had survived, but she knew the road to full recovery would take time, patience, and support. Her family remained by her side, helping her navigate the aftermath. Her mother, Karen, and sister Rachel coordinated with local law enforcement, ensuring that Jessica's home was secured and all legal avenues were pursued to prevent any further danger. Friends and colleagues from the hospital offered emotional support, some sharing stories of their own encounters with stalking or domestic violence. Their presence reminded Jessica that she was not alone, and that community support could be a lifeline when facing someone who sought to terrorize and manipulate. Jessica also began attending therapy sessions to process the trauma. The counselors helped her understand the psychological tactics Ethan Caldwell had used: coercive control, manipulation, and threats to destabilize her. Understanding these behaviors allowed Jessica to regain a sense of agency and confidence. She learned to recognize red flags and trust her instincts more fully, developing strategies to ensure her safety and emotional well-being in the future. Despite the horror of what she experienced, Jessica chose to turn her ordeal into an opportunity to help others. She began speaking publicly about her experience, highlighting the dangers of stalking, online deception, and coercive control. Her story served as a stark reminder that danger can emerge from someone who initially appears loving, attentive, and caring. She emphasized the importance of recognizing early warning signs, trusting one's intuition, and taking immediate action when confronted with threats to personal safety.
One of the most important lessons Jessica shared was the significance of documenting every interaction and incident, from texts and emails to instances of physical stalking or harassment. Keeping detailed records was critical in pursuing legal protections. She encouraged other survivors to reach out to law enforcement, friends, and family without hesitation, reinforcing that seeking help is not a sign of weakness, but a vital step in ensuring safety. Jessica's advocacy work eventually led her to partner with organizations dedicated to combating domestic violence and stalking. She became a spokesperson for awareness campaigns, sharing her story through interviews, seminars, and social media. Her mission was clear: to educate people about the realities of abusive and obsessive behavior, provide guidance on recognizing warning signs, and inspire survivors to seek help without fear or shame. Meanwhile, the legal proceedings surrounding Ethan Caldwell's actions brought some closure. Investigators detailed his prior history of stalking, harassment, and violent behavior, highlighting the missed opportunities for earlier intervention. The documentation of his pattern of manipulation, his use of false identities, and his escalating obsession with Jessica painted a clear picture of premeditated danger. These findings were crucial in reinforcing laws around restraining orders, stalking prevention, and the importance of community vigilance. Jessica herself reflected on the luck and timing that contributed to her survival. Every small decision, the choice to stay at her sister's house that night, the attentiveness of neighbors, and the swift actions of emergency responders, played a role in preventing a tragedy that could have easily ended differently. She understood that while not everyone facing such danger would be as fortunate, sharing her story could equip others with knowledge, awareness, and preparedness. Over time, Jessica returned to her professional life as a reproductive medicine specialist, finding renewed purpose in her work. Helping bring new lives into the world, offering care and compassion to patients, and rebuilding trust with her colleagues became part of her healing journey. She continued to maintain heightened personal safety measures and remained vigilant, but she no longer lived in constant fear. Her resilience became an inspiration to those around her, proving that recovery is possible even after extreme trauma. Jessica also found love again, though with caution and clarity. She met Dr. Mark Reynolds, an orthopedic surgeon, at a medical conference. Their relationship developed slowly, built on mutual respect, transparency, and shared values. Mark became a source of steady support, allowing Jessica to experience trust, care, and partnership without the shadows of obsession or manipulation. This relationship reinforced the idea that past trauma does not have to define one's future, and that healing can coexist with joy and connection. Beyond personal recovery, Jessica dedicated herself to advocacy. She participated in programs that educated communities about domestic violence, online safety, and coercive control. She collaborated with law enforcement, legal professionals, and social workers to develop outreach initiatives aimed at early intervention and survivor support. Her experience became a cornerstone for public awareness campaigns, helping countless individuals understand the seriousness of stalking and domestic violence, and encouraging them to take action when they sense danger. As her story reached a wider audience, Jessica reminded viewers that safety and awareness are key. She emphasized simple but critical actions. Trust your gut. Document incidents. Set clear boundaries. Communicate concerns to friends and family, and engage with law enforcement when necessary. Every preventative step can be a lifeline in moments of danger. Jessica's journey also underscored the importance of community. The rapid response of neighbors, friends, and professionals during the attack highlighted that support networks can mean the difference between life and death. She encouraged viewers to be vigilant, not only for themselves, but also for those around them, to recognize signs of abuse or harassment and to intervene or seek help when necessary. Her survival, though miraculous, came with a lasting message. Domestic violence, stalking, and coercive behavior are not abstract dangers. They are real threats that can escalate quickly, often targeting people who appear safe and secure in their routines. Jessica's courage in sharing her story serves as a beacon, illuminating the importance of awareness, preparedness, and community action. Now, she dedicates herself to ensuring that other survivors do not feel alone. She speaks to schools, hospitals, and local organizations, giving practical advice and emotional support. Her work demonstrates that education, vigilance, and compassion can save lives. Through her advocacy, Jessica has transformed personal trauma into a force for collective empowerment and protection. Before we end today's story, if Jessica's journey and courage have moved you, there are several ways you can help us continue spreading awareness and making a difference. Like this video to show your support for survivors. Subscribe to the channel and tap the bell icon so you never miss our newest uploads, where we uncover real stories of courage, survival, and justice. Share this video with friends and family who care about awareness and safety, because your engagement helps reach more people who need to hear these truths. Comment below with your perspective or lessons learned. Your thoughts could help others understand the importance of vigilance and resilience. By sharing stories like Jessica Monroe's, we remind the world that even in the darkest moments, courage, community, and action can prevail. Every like, share, comment, and subscription contributes to keeping these critical conversations alive. Thank you for being part of this community built on truth, awareness, and compassion. Stay alert, stay safe, and look out for the people around you. Because sometimes the world isn't as safe as it seems. But with knowledge, vigilance, and courage, we can all make a difference.